following program is sponsored by Michael W. Smith. The views expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Arizona, Phoenix. Brother Mike back on the radio. Welcome to HardcoreChristianity.com. Thank you for tuning in. Today's Bible study. The rejection spirits. They spawned David Koresh. David Koresh still speaks today on Hardcore. Hey, will you call somebody and tell them radio program's on? Tell them Brother Mike's got another unusual Bible study available. I'll make a couple of quick announcements while you make the call. Thank you for your help. This is Brother Mike. I'm the professional counselor at the Arizona Deliverance Center. I've been a counselor for 38 years here in Maricopa County. We're located at 15th Avenue, just south of Osborne Road, near downtown Phoenix, Arizona. If you go to the website, hardcorechristianity.com, you'll see all of our services. We have 2 live services every week, Thursday nights and Friday nights at 7 p.m. Thursday nights is our no appointment necessary healing room. Please come for prayer and please leave delivered and healed. Friday night, that's my teaching service for my radio listeners. That also starts at 7 p.m. Of course, we have a healing and deliverance service after that. On the website, you can sign up for our next free seminar, and if you were at the Spirit Spouse seminar, the last one we had, it was the bomb, to say the least. Tremendous move of the Holy Ghost. The place was packed. So thankful for all of you who came, and so grateful so many got healed. You can catch the radio archives or send us another donation on our PayPal button off the website, and you can contact Sister Karen. She's on the homepage. She'll be happy to list your house for sale. She loves working with born-again Christians. David Koresh, the spawn of the demon of rejection. As you know, I have taught on several occasions about the spirit of rejection. It's the number one demon Satan uses to destroy families in the United States. It's quite remarkable. I've gone over this teaching several times, and I'm not going to go over the complete teaching again today, but as you'll recall from previous radio shows, the rejection demon enters the child's brain during periods of great disappointment or child abuse or trauma, and the spirit enters the brain and gradually takes over the person's mind over the next few years, and it also allows other demons to enter the body. The rejection demon is the spirit that gets into a child's brain that destroys their self-esteem and causes additional trauma in their lives. If you are a counselor or a parent or a pastor working with the children's ministry or the young youth group, and you've had a young person that has had a lot of trauma or rejection in their life, you can be absolutely sure that this spirit is within that young person's brain and is bringing them a disastrous life. Everybody knows about, back in the 1990s, the nightmare of the David Koresh Branch Davidian compound in Texas that was burnt to the ground. And they had the confrontation with the FBI. And it was unbelievable. Looking back on it, you can see, again, hindsight is 20/20, the incredible number of errors that Koresh made and the FBI made and the police departments made, the sheriff department, in handling that disaster. It was absolutely horrible. But David Koresh was a product of the spirit of rejection. He had come from a broken home. His actual name was Vernon Wayne Howell. He was born in 1959. And his mother, her name was Bonnie. She had gotten pregnant when she was 14 years old by a young man named Bobby Wayne Howell. Right after Bobby got Bonnie pregnant with Koresh, he, a few months later, married another woman who he was also having an affair with. He had virtually nothing to do with Koresh's upbringing and basically abandoned him when he was a baby. In addition to that, Koresh's life started this incredible role of child abuse. He was shuffled from home to home when he was young. He lived with his mother for a while. When she married another man she was having an affair with, and he was also young and indifferent and uncaring toward Koresh when he was a baby and a young boy. Koresh's mother and her new husband became Seventh-day Adventists. And David Koresh kind of grew up in this church. And this is where he became famous for his religious delusions and the demons of religion he picked up in his brain came from the Seventh-day Adventist church. They teach several strange false doctrines that don't line up with, the Bible or typical Christianity. And the problem was, when he was young, he was shuffled back and forth between his maternal grandmother and his mother. And later on, when he grew up, he started to develop into a very charismatic person at the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And he began to overcome his low self-esteem and his childhood rejection with religion. And even though he was born with dyslexia, he became quite knowledgeable about the Bible and had huge sections of passages memorized. Dick Rivas wrote a book on the Waco disaster called The Ashes of Waco, an Investigation. And he was relaying in this book that Koresh had met a girl in 1977. She was 16 and he was 18, and he got her pregnant, just like his natural father had gotten his mother pregnant when she was just a young girl. And it also shows in another book, the Washington Post had written an article on Koresh back in 1993, where he had gotten a 15-year-old girl pregnant who was one of the Seventh-day Adventist preacher's daughters. And Koresh was also physically mistreated by his stepfather, the first one, and then he had another stepfather later who also physically abused him. The guy's name was Roy Haldeman. And he would go from his mother's house to his grandmother's house, and also he would be shuffled back to other relatives. So you can see, as a very young child, Koresh had a very, very unstable upbringing, and he was literally created with a low self-esteem, and this spirit of rejection used the trauma of his childhood to warp his personality and allow him to pick up familiar spirits, or these demons of religion that created his false doctrine that he tricked all the people that lived in the Branch Davidian compound near Waco. Many years later, I think back in his early 20s, Koresh finally did meet his biological father, but unfortunately the dad had zero interest in Koresh. As a Seventh-day Adventist, he was a minister, so to speak, of the gospel. He was a youth leader there, and many of the people that remember him there noticed that he had developed unusual charisma and had a very strong ability to control young people, and particularly young girls. And when he was at the Branch Davidian, he brought his Seventh-day Adventist teachings that were perverted to the compound, and he became a major prophet, self-proclaimed, that is. The spirits of religion, or the familiar spirits that had gotten into his brain, told him that he was a prophet and that he was a spokesman for God. Well, when the Seventh-day Adventists had gotten Exposed to this, they of course rejected him and they excommunicated him. They call it disfellowshipping. This rejection by people, by family members, by relatives, by the Seventh-day Adventist Church, all were used by the spirit of rejection to drive David Koresh into a world of spiritual and religious delusions caused by familiar spirits. This is one of the great powers of the demon of rejection. He lets in other demons, and the ones he usually lets in are, number 1, fear, number 2, lust, and number 3, religion. It's very common for spirits of rejection to let in other demons that cause the person severe problems later in life. And you can see these lust demons that had entered Koresh turned him into someone who was a pedophile and someone who had multiple wives. He went into polygamy at the compound in Waco, and he also went into major spiritual delusions, teaching people one lie after the other about the second coming, and he was a very apocalyptic type teacher. And because he had charisma and he was a good public speaker, he was able to fool literally hundreds of people into stockpiling weapons at the compound and teaching them that the end of the world was coming and that he, as one of God's major prophets, was going to play a dramatic role in that scenario. And then, of course, the Branch Davidian compound was attacked by the FBI and the Sheriff's Department and everybody. And you know what happened there. We all saw it on the news. It was literally beyond belief. And they later found Koresh's body where he had committed suicide. He had 1 round in his head. And, of course, after his inner man left his body, he went to hell with most of the other Branch Davidians who were caught up in this fake cult and this satanic religion. But it was all started in childhood through abuse and neglect and the spirit of rejection. If you have had a background similar to Koresh's, and you picked up a spirit of rejection when you were young and it's tormented you for many years, I have seen people with these demons delivered hundreds of times over the years. 602-636-5800. If you were abused as a child, raped, molested as a child, verbally abused, and you picked up this rejection demon, you know he's in there. You can be healed and completely delivered.
The views expressed on this program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program was sponsored by Michael W. Smith.